Hi guys, today I will show you how I can install macOS 10 on an SD card. I'm doing it on this PowerBook here. Its hard drive is going bad, it's making weird clunking noises and it takes very long to start up. So it's time to upgrade it to a solid state medium. So of course you will need the most important thing, the adapter. And there are a lot of adapters and I have experience with installing stuff on SD cards, so I can recommend you some. Now, in my case, I've got all of these here, and the difference between these two are basically the same, but this one is different. These here are IDE, which these old computers all use, to compact flash, and the benefit of compact flash is it doesn't need like a chip to transcode it because the IDE and compact flash they use the same they work in the same way, while IDE to SD needs a chip to get it transcoded into so that the computer can read the SD card as if it was a hard disk, and that's what this chip does. This is a IDE to SD adapter, which is a little smaller, and it requires only an SD card, while the other ones require a compact flash card. And this is basically the same as this, just with not such a nice casing. Now I will use this one because this PowerBook is not the nicest piece of hardware I have. It's falling apart, so it doesn't deserve the most beautiful adapter. But also, I want to save this up for a different project. But yeah, I wanted to show you this. This is very cheap on Amazon, but of course you will need, yeah, just drop it. you will need another adapter to make it work with your SD card, obviously. So you just pick up one of these. This is a simple compact flash to SD adapter. And yeah, then you will need an SD, of course, which doesn't really matter what it is. I'm using here this 16 gigabyte SD from Sony. Had that in my camera for very long, and I decided to repurpose it for the sake of installing an operating system on it. Now, here comes the tricky part, or the thing you have to know. It's not all that tricky. You will have to pre-format this into macOS 10, because right now it's formatted as NTFS. And if it is formatted NTFS, I had the experience that especially the Tiger installer, I don't know about Leopard, but the Tiger installer would not recognize it unless it's formatted in macOS Extended. So make sure you format this in macOS Extended. So then you have your SD card, and obviously you need the operating system disk, which is right now, here in my case, 10.4 Tiger. I, in fact, don't recommend installing like Leopard on an SD. I think it's just too new to actually work pretty well. But Tiger works very well. I have it running on my iMac G3, also off an SD card, and it performs pretty darn good. So yeah, in order to make the SD card recognizable to the operating system installer, I'm heading over here to another Mac. So right now I will hook the SD card up to the newer PowerBook here, and then we will go into Disk Utility. So guys, now that we are here in Disk Utility, I will explain a couple of things. Right now I have it just formatted. I wanted to make sure that this SD actually formats and that doesn't throw me any errors, so you know, I just did some random formatting here. But I have to explain you a couple of things. If you plan on using the whole SD card for only one operating system, then it's pretty simple and straightforward. You just press one partition, and then you format it as macOS Extended, and done. Hold on. Just make sure that here in the option Apple Partition Map is checked, because it could be that Master Boot Record is checked, and if that is checked, then the PowerPC based computer is not able to boot from this SD. It's only for PC. The PC could boot, but not like a PowerPC Mac. Now, if it happens to be that you really install an operating system on an SD card on an Intel Mac, which I really highly doubt you're gonna do, but if, then you have to check GUID partition map if it's an Intel. If it's a PowerPC, which I think 98% of people will do in this case, use Apple Partition Map. And then it's all good. So make sure Apple Partition Map is checked. It's all saying here you need that to start a PowerPC Mac. So yeah, that's if you want to use one operating system. If you want to use, for example, OS 9 or so, which a lot of people might want to do to play old games or run old software, you will have to split it in obviously 2 partitions, and then of course check macOS 9 drivers. Pretty self-explanatory. And again, make sure it's macOS extended, so nothing could go wrong when you install another macOS 9 or another macOS 10 if you really want that. Now in my case, I will do something weird. I will in fact try maybe in the future to get a Linux booting on the old PowerBook, and I want to dual boot Linux and macOS 10. So in this special case, you have to do it the following way, and you have to do it before you install an operating system, because afterwards it cannot be done. You would need a whole nother reinstall. So make sure you get this right the first time. Now what we have to do is, we have to first of all set a macOS 10 partition. In my case here, Tiger 7.4 gigs, that's totally fine for me. And we'll just check macOS extended. That's fine. Then partition number 2, we will go here, format, and do it as free space. Why that? Why not make another partition or something? Well, if you try to boot up or try to install a Linux on a PowerPC and you have it set this way, it will automatically use the empty space and make a partition, make the swap itself, do everything itself, and just use the free space. And I recommend doing that. And so the installer is going to ask, do you want to use all the free space? So then you just click yes and you're done. Now maybe you could be ghetto, and I don't know why you would do that, but maybe you could go back to your Windows PC and format only this one partition as MS-DOS, and maybe then you could also use the Linux. But I recommend, it's stupid because it's gonna reformat anyway in Linux file system, in ex4 whatever, and so just do it this way. Now a lot of people will probably not do this, but I will do this for future. If I plan to install a Linux on here, which I maybe want to do, we format it just as this. So the most important thing to remember is, again, make sure you have the Apple Partition Map checked, it's saying it under here, and make sure you have it obviously formatted as macOS extended. So if you're doing this on a PowerPC Mac, like I hear, chances that you can do something wrong are pretty low. If you do it, however, on a modern Mac with Apple file system, make sure you check macOS extended journal, because if you don't, the old PowerPC will not know what the hell the Apple file system should be. So make sure you just use macOS extended and you're good then. So right now it's formatting. This old Sony SD isn't really the fastest in the world, but yeah, totally fast enough for installing an operating system and just for retro computing reasons. So we're done here. Now we have to install the SD in the actual machine. So we have the PowerBook flipped over. If you have a battery, remove it. And now we can go on, and that screwdriver is too big. Let's use that one. And disassemble the machine. Now that's of course gonna vary a lot if you have a different machine. Chances that you can't do it as fast as I can do here are pretty high, especially the later PowerBooks or so. It's a tedious process to get to the hard drive. It's not hard, but it's you need a lot of time. But here on these old PowerBooks, you just unscrew this bottom piece, and then you are pretty much there. You can just take it out. Here you can see this isn't really a prime example of a nice mint condition PowerBook, if you couldn't guess it yet. This is missing the optical drive because the optical drive was dead. Apparently this is, I think, the CMOS battery. It's not hooked up. Maybe let's fix that, as if this CMOS battery even still would have a charge. But yeah, just for good measure. Here is the hard disk. Obviously, again, this this can vary throughout all the machines. And now, make sure you're a little gentle with this. I mean, not a lot can happen, but still, just make sure, because this is the connection to your IDE. So this is the IDE bus connection. So here you go. This is an old Toshiba hard drive. Holy crap, look at that logo. That screams like 90s Toshiba or something. Now I'm just seeing, guys. This trolls me a bit, but it's also a good opportunity to show you what could also happen. Now, if you look at this connector here, you can see it's missing a pin in the middle here. And a couple of computers have that, and I don't know why that is. But we got the problem here. It has all the connectors there. So, well, you might say, oh shit, you're out of luck. Well, fuck that. No, don't worry. There are adapters out there which do not have this one little, like, which have this missing pin. If some of you could tell me what that is for, I have really no idea. But this one also has all of them. And this one, hooray, has the missing one. So let's crack that open. I can really recommend these guys. I already installed 3 of them in my machines, and it was always because of these reasons. They always trolled me with this one missing pin. So also what I learned is that if you try to bypass it, like if you bend that away here or already tried that, it's not gonna work, guys. Apparently if it has all of them, it needs all of them. So yeah, here we go. SD adapter number 2, which is this time not a compact flash, it's only a real SD. But yeah, guys, you know, that stuff happens with old computers. You always run into problems, but these are not problems that aren't fixable. So here it is, nicely locked into place. Now I have used this special adapter into 2 90s IBM ThinkPads, which also have this missing pin, and on a friend's old compact laptop, which also has this missing pin. And it worked great. So I've never tried it on a PowerPC Macintosh, but I don't see why it shouldn't work. So let's see if we can nail where that is. I think it's there. Yeah, because we obviously it would not go in if it had the one pin blocking the knocked out here. So there we go, installed. Pretty simple. Now this is again pretty ghetto. What we're gonna do, you first connect it up, and now as you can see, this is, I mean, even for my standards, you know, usually I really don't give a crap about stuff like this, but even for my standards, this is just a little too much flex. So what we will need to do is to make sure that it doesn't unplug when you try to move it around and stuff. I will use the most professional method, electrical tape. Now we can screw this bottom piece back on it, and yeah, make sure we didn't unhook something which we weren't supposed to, and then we can start the installation process, which I'm very looking forward to. So just an idea that came to my head. After all, this is in really terrible condition. I thought we could maybe make another like custom PowerBook with a different paint job. Like, look at it, it's all scuffed up, it's looking terrible. So I was thinking like making the first space gray PowerBook in the world. Or I did that on my eMac, which you guys quite liked, and I enjoyed too. So I mean, this scene is pretty pretty rough. Like tons of scratches, broken plastic. I'll fix that with some super glue afterwards. But yeah, it's just not looking all that nice. But I think like a black paint job could maybe make it look pretty cool, and also it would make a great contrast with this. What is this, white or something, or silver bezel? I think it would look awesome. But yeah, maybe if it's warmer outside, I'll do it if I have some time. So yeah, in the meantime, this crappy look has to do. Good. Now that we got this out of the way, the hardware side is done. We now plug it back in. And we need to install Mac OS 10. In my case, the ones who still remember, this doesn't have an optical drive, so how the hell should it install, right? Well, once again, the PowerBook Aluminium is going to save us. I will put this CD, DVD, whatever, into its working optical drive. For how long it's hopefully still working, I don't know, but it works. And we'll put this into target disk mode and then connect them up via FireWire. Alright, they're connected. Let's shut this one down. And let's boot it up and hold T. And we hold it until we see a FireWire logo bouncing around on the display. These G4s take forever to post. Here we go. Bouncing around FireWire logo. Now I can use this as a external DVD drive, hard drive, whatever. It's basically just an external device hooked up via FireWire. So now we can go to our PowerBook we want to install it on. So here we have all the partitions we could boot into. The Linux is probably not gonna work on this, but I could even like boot the Leopard install from the other PowerBook, but we will not do this. We will only boot here from the DVD, which is our Tiger disk. So we'll click OK on that, and it is booting the Tiger disk, which is very nice. So then we're gonna cross fingers that the adapter is being recognized by the Mac. Again, I've never done this on a PowerPC Mac, PowerPC Mac laptop, that is. I've done it on some desktops and they work, but of course desktops use a different style of adapter. They use the full-size IDE with the Molex power, so yeah, well, this one uses the 44-pin IDE, but we will see. Okay, here we are. We can now go into disk utility and cross fingers that it's recognized. That's all we want to know. Does it recognize the adapter and the SD card? It's always making it so exciting with the external stuff loading. And yeah, I'm happy to see, yes, here it is, our 14.8 gigabyte Syntachi SD to SCF adapter. Well, it always shows up as a SD to compact flash adapter, but yeah, it's in real a IDE adapter, but whatever. Now you might ask, why the hassle of formatting it on the other Mac before? Why not do it right here? Well, the problem I faced is that if you have a MS-DOS formatted SD card, which is very likely, it will not recognize it. It will say there are no disks. It will recognize the adapter, but it will say there are no disks. Or maybe it will not even recognize the adapter. But in my case, there were no options to format it. So yeah, I could reformat it here for whatever reason. You know, I could click partition here and just do it again. But I will not do that because we already did that and it's ready to go. So here we can now go through a regular Mac installation. Here we go. Tiger, that's the destination volume. Yes, install Mac OS 10 without any bells and whistles here. And now I will uncheck some stuff. I don't want to do additional languages or fonts or printed drivers, but X11 would be good. So yeah, that is what we'll do. And we'll have 4.9 gigabytes remaining, which is good. So let's click install. And now we wait. That's all we have to do. We wait and we hope that nothing goes wrong or freezes or some other weird shit happens. But I think it should go pretty smooth. Okay guys, it installed without a single issue. No, we're not from Australia, might, but anyway. Let's do all of this, and it's in fact a German keyboard, so yeah. So it is done. We installed macOS 10 on the SD card without a single issue. Here is the installation DVD, which I will now pop out of the machine. Let's check that. So the PowerBook here, can give it back. Good. So, now we can actually take a listen. It is so freaking silent. It doesn't make a single noise. But that's also because the fan doesn't need to turn right now. So if it needs to turn, then obviously we have the little fan noise. But I think that is really not so bad. So let's go into About This Mac and more info. And go to ADA. And here it is. Syntachi adapter, all working fine. We got 5.2 gig capacity. Now yes, it would need software updates. It's only running 10.4 and there's 10.4.11. But yeah, that's something we can take care of in the future. So let's actually look at the boot speed, how long it takes to boot up. The first boot is something that really doesn't count since it needs to create a lot of cache files and all that. But the second boot up should be pretty normal. So yeah, let's boot that up. Let's unhook here the target disk mode volume. Why is it not focusing? I don't know. But yeah, let's see how long it takes to boot. And it's doing it in complete silence. Very, very good. And there it is, all ready to go. Fully booted up, ready to be used. So I hope you could learn something and also get your installation going on the SD card. As you see, it's pretty simple. Also, Macs are really not that picky with the SD card installations. I've had more trouble installing Windows on SD cards than I had with Mac systems. So yeah, this is pretty cool. I hope you liked it. And right now we made our old PowerBook a little more modern-ish with the solid-state medium as a boot drive. So tell me what you think, and see you later then.